Hello. Welcome along to episode 214 of Adventures in Pop. My name is Simon Jacobs. You are incredibly welcome. And today I want to talk about something that you're not going to see replicated across the many, many thousands of videos on YouTube for independent singer-songwriters, so many of which will tell you about compression or EQ or which bit of kit is the most important thing that you should have bought or you should have, or maybe just £200 you could buy this, and other bits of kit you might need to have in your studio, and how to fix your mic, how to get the best mic, how to get the best guitar. No other YouTube programs aimed towards the individual independent singer-songwriter, I don't think, is going to be discussing one of the most important things that just never gets talked about, which is how do you show emotion? We're going to be talking about emotional singing in this episode. So this is definitely for you if you are a budding singer-songwriter. And I should say right from the very beginning, I'm not coming here with the answers. I'm not coming here with, so this is how you do it. Because I think if it was that easy, we'd probably all be doing it, wouldn't we? I might have some suggestions by the time I, have said what I think I want to say. But this is more a discussion really about how difficult it is to show the appropriate amount of emotion in singing. And I want to explain a little bit what I mean. But first of all, okay, let me give you an interesting example that I've always kind of found bewildering, actually, and quite funny. But when I was growing up, one of the songs I really, really liked on the radio back in the 70s, back in, the playground at school, I can picture it pretty well, was the song by Marvin Gaye and Diana Ross, You Are Everything and Everything Is You. It was on the album Marvin and Diana, or Diana and Marvin, I'm not quite sure who came first. The whole thing was a kind of construct from Berry Gordy, who just thought, here are my, two biggest recording stars, so hey, why not get them to sing together? I don't think they particularly liked each other, and there was probably a bit of sort of jealousy, really, because I think Diana Ross at that time had married Berry Gordy, which meant that she was kind of his favourite. Obviously, he'd married her, she'd married him. So for people like Marvin Gaye, it must have felt like you're kind of going to work with the boss's daughter or the boss's girlfriend or something like that, and it's kind of awkward, isn't it? So they recorded the whole album, which included this track, You Are Everything and Everything Is You. And the thing that is so interesting about this track, this beautiful song, and it is a really good song, it's one of my favourite songs ever in the world ever, is what you get is an opportunity, I suppose, to compare and contrast these two hugely successful singers. And what I tended to find, look, even when I was really, really young, I couldn't quite work out what was going on. Was this a competition between the two of them? Were they kind of geeing each other up to then do a bigger, better vocal? But the thing that seemed so obvious to me, and it was even obvious to me at the age of, 11 or 12 or something, was that Diana Ross, who has, I think, the first verse, she sings her verse perfectly, plausibly pleasant. It's absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with it at all. All the notes are in tune. There's a hint that she might mean what she says, and all is good. And then in the next verse, it's Marvin Gaye's turn. He comes crashing in onto the track in this second verse. And boy, he gives it such a performance. He gives it everything. And it is so fantastic. It's only a few lines. It's only a few seconds of singing. But it is just wonderful. And then they carry on the rest of the song kind of in and out of each other's kind of vocal. And it's beautiful. But the thing that I always found interesting was it was a lopsided song. His vocal was so passionate, so full of, absolute, heartfelt, like the world would end if you didn't listen and agree with him. On his knees. And it just overwhelmed the song. I thought it was a brilliant performance from Marvin Gaye, and I wondered whether there'd ever been a conversation around Motown saying these voices don't really balance. You know, one's the most brilliant singer in the world ever, and the other one's okay, she's fine. But it felt like that to me, always felt like that to me, and I wondered whether they ever spoke to each other after that. I could just imagine, you know, listening to the playback of that single, and Diana Ross is thinking, who told him he could do that? Anyway, go check it out if you haven't heard it. It's a laugh. But what it does is it gives us a bit of a foundation to talk about the importance of conveying something in the song. And I've had interesting issues with this, I think, you know, from feedback I get, and I suppose in the past as well. I quite often will get feedback that, you know, maybe my vocal is kind of a bit, well, maybe a bit expressionless. Maybe it sounds like I'm concentrating hard on getting the right notes and the right some nice phrasing, etc., etc. Now, I think this is where the devil lies. You know, there are so many voices I hear on the radio, on Spotify. You know, if I go and listen to a chart rundown right now of any nation, I'm sure, I think I'm going to hear quite a lot of voices that have been beautifully recorded, sung as carefully as possible, beautifully produced, everything immaculately in tune, just placed perfectly into the mix, and it's gorgeous. But the one thing it seems to be lacking is emotion. A few episodes back, I talked about overrated stars and groups, and I ended up talking about my number one overrated, Mariah Carey. She, to me, is the absolute goddess of being able to convey to you that she's a jolly good singer, thank you very much, but not really ever conveying what her song is about. You know, she's showing off, I think, and I don't like that. So I'm very averse to that. But if I go down the other end of the scale, I get the feedback that maybe my own singing is a bit lacking in emotion. But here's the problem. There was a time, particularly when I was working with Johnny and Simon, Rothman and Jacobs, that have released a few tracks and will release some more tracks in the fullness of time. Back in the Rothman and Jacobs days, which we're talking, 20, 30 years ago, Johnny would be quite insistent that I had to sing, wherever I sang, I had to sing it with drama. And so I would work very hard at giving it drama. And I think I did give it drama from time to time, maybe not as much as I was being asked to give, but I gave it full welly drama. And now when I go back and listen to it, it feels quite inauthentic. And this is the problem. You can give it full-on drama, but it's got to be the drama that it needs. It's got to be the right drama for the right song. It's got to be the drama that the words actually can sit with. Otherwise, it's a weird, strange thing you're doing. You're writing a song about, going to the shops, and you're giving it complete, end of the world kind of rendition. So it's got to be in keeping. I think this is a really tricky area. I think, you see, if you undercook it, people say expressionless. If you overcook it, people might feel it's inauthentic, or you might yourself feel it's inauthentic and sort of embarrassing if you really try and lay it on thick. To some extent, that gets into the area of, are you a good actor? Are your songs little plays, little performances of different characters? So look, I think this is tricky. What would I suggest doing about this? I do think there are a few hints and tips, but I don't think this is in any way definitive. And I do think it's so important that you're conveying what you want to convey in that song. So here's the thing. I think, can you remember what it was, what the circumstances were that made you write that song? I think this is really important. Can you remember when you were writing it, not what you think about it now, but at that time, what you were trying to say? What was it about? What is the subject? What was the purpose of writing the song? Whose point of view is it? Who is the person singing? Is it totally you, or is it a slightly fictional situation, a fictional character? If it is a fictional character, can you go back into that character? Can you find that character again, and kind of get into their voice? I think I've got songs that here's the problem as well. I think I'm singing songs very differently from each other. I don't think anyone else thinks that. So it's happening in here, but it's not necessarily happening out here. So, I guess for myself, I might need to turn up the emotional dial just a little bit, but not to the point where it goes wavering into the red, inauthentic section, because I think that's not very nice, and it's not very credible, and it doesn't give your song extra emotion. It gives it sort of strange hyperbolic melodrama. That's probably not what you meant for that song about going to the shops. So can you remember the state of mind you were in when you first wrote it? Can you remember what it was written about, who you thought it was being written from the point of view of? Because I write lots of songs that they are me, but they're different bits of me, I suppose. I'm without wanting to get very pretentious and a bit pompous. And occasionally I'm writing pure fiction, so I'm literally being somebody else, or just commenting on something. Some songs are observation songs. Maybe those songs don't need tons of emotion, but even if the observation is a moody, sad observation, then you probably want to be singing in keeping with the moody sadness, not suddenly, very jolly. The other day, I was recording here with CJ from Gold Hawk Foxes, and I said to him, I think the song we were doing then, I said, I think this is a really upbeat song. It feels like it needs to be sung with you smiling. And we sort of almost kind of tried that, and it does make a bit of a difference. So it wasn't, let's put a whole load of crazy emotion into this, but make sure that it feels upbeat, happy, particularly in this day and age. We have to take what we can. So look, I just think it's a really important thing. The other day I heard a couple of people talking about news stories and saying, what people buy when they go out and buy a newspaper often is not so much the whole newspaper. They're buying into an emotion that newspaper is going to give them, or that magazine. They're buying into an emotion that a new item of clothing is going to give you. You go and buy some trainers. Yes, of course you love the trainers, but the trainers convey something to you, and you're buying an emotion. And I think there is a lot to that. When you deliver a song, the song needs to be a good song, and the words need to rhyme a little bit here and there, and there should be a tune, and you should be able to hear stuff in the song, and it should be quite exciting, etc. Or have a moody presence, whatever it's going to be. But all that's great. What people are buying into is it makes them feel something. And if it doesn't make them feel something, it's just going to go right over their heads, and it will remain unnoticed forever. So I think all of our music has to make people feel something, and therefore it needs to have its true, original, authentic sense imbued into the words. Does that make sense? It's difficult to do. I don't think this is easy at all, but I think swinging one way too far, too little is a dangerous and easy option. Let's leave it there for this very interesting masterclass of showing some emotion. I will see you very shortly. There is going to be a new Gold Hawk Foxes track in the next week or two, and something else from me just coming up around the corner also in a couple of weeks' time, or actually a little longer than that, maybe 3 weeks' time. So everything to play for. You take it easy. It's been lovely talking to you. Take care. Bye-bye.